Today we are going to have a really deep dive into ITF Taekwondo patterns and everything that umpires look for and misconceptions about the patterns, what is the best and what's not. Oh, there's two different types of scoring we do. We do a different type for black belts and colour belt patterns because for black belts they're a bit more advanced and they know a lot more movements and stuff. So they are judged at a higher quality versus colour belt patterns for this reason. So that's why we use two different scoring systems that we're going to go over today. So there's a couple of things that every belt umpires look for. Technique accuracy, power and sine wave, balance and stability, rhythm and timing is the most common things we're looking for and we're scoring for, because that's basically really it for the basics. So first of all, color belt patterns are scored. Um, they pick a pattern they want to do for the entire thing. So it could be chung move for say. They do that for the entire for that pattern, the entire thing. Even if they get into the semi quarters or anything like that, they stay at that pattern, and it's judged at the end. So we're not taking away any points like black belt. So they stay at 10 points, and at the end, the center referee in the middle will say to umpires score, and then they will press on the scoring device what they want. So they start at 10, they will minus say 3 for whoever they don't want to win, and that person loses, and the other person wins. So that's how color belt patterns are scored. There's a couple of things that we are looking out for the color belts. So if there could be a category where there is green belts and green tags in one say category. So we are looking out to see if the yellow tag is doing more correct movements versus the yellow belt, say. So we are looking to see, because they are a bit older, so they should be able to demonstrate patterns a bit more better and know the catch the movements, say. And then we are looking for a rhythm and not going too fast or too slow. And as well, patterns are always done at the start of the day. That's something that can actually help you in a way, because all the judges, let's be honest, are going to be more awake versus when sparring starts, they're not going to be as awake. So you have an advantage over that, and you have 5 people watching you, and you need to get the majority of them to vote for you. So you need to get 3 people to vote for you to win, or if that doesn't happen, it's a draw, and then you're just going to do another pattern, and whoever wins. That's how it operates for color belt patterns. And usually the case is they do a slightly better, because they can pick any pattern they want, really. They shouldn't, but if they really wanted to and they were a red belt, they meant to do a red belt pattern, but they really wanted to, they could do a very low pattern. They shouldn't, but it's nothing stopping them from doing it. And so say like near the final, they might do a lower grade pattern for the entire thing, and then they might do their pattern for the final. That's fine, where it's not anything wrong with that. They're fine and they can do that, no problem. And it's really it. We're really looking out for the blocks and the distance, really, for cutter bell patterns. That's really all we're looking for. And as well, it's they're not doing the same pattern. That's why we do not use in Ireland. Many other countries do another system. We don't do minus points at the same time, because someone could be doing another pattern while that person's doing something else. So it's very hard to judge versus black belt pattern. They're doing the same pattern. So it's quite easy just to be able to look over, say, for the black belt pattern to see exactly what's wrong, but versus then we can't really. So that's why we don't do it that scoring method versus black belts. We used to do it that the other way, but now we don't to make it more fair. Many other countries don't do it, but in Ireland we do it for fairness, and it's worked out quite well for us. And we're never going to probably go back. Now, black belt patterns, they get a bit more complicated now. So, black belts can do their pattern of their belt up till the semi-finals. For then the semi-finals, they get selected a random pattern on the system on the laptop, and then they have to do that pattern. That's how the patterns are selected. So they do one optional pattern and then one random pattern that gets selected by a system. And then for scoring, they are being scored by minus points. So they start off with 10 points and then they're being minus points. So say they do a low block instead of a high block, they're going to be minus points. But they can get a -0 that doesn't do anything. But so say like if they do it quite well and they're doing a great block, that's how we do it. And it's they can see the score, and it's actually quite good for black belt patterns how we're doing it in Ireland versus other countries. And that's how black belts were really looking out for a lot more details. So like the little tiny things that we wouldn't look out for, the um color belt patterns we are looking out for in the black belt patterns, because they're doing exactly the same pattern. So it makes our life easier when we're looking over and we see them doing exactly the same pattern. It makes it a lot easier. And so we can exactly tell, we can minus very quickly. If we see someone doing a high block instead of a low block, we see that and it's quite quick. So it is actually quite good in that sense, that it makes it go quite good. And we see mostly not really any balance issues, not really. It's more I'd say for some of the younger black belts there is their stances are quite short for their size, when we say that is something that is quite, say, easy to spot but can minus you points very quickly. And as well, we are umpires at the end of the day. We are there for, we say, 12 hours sometimes. And at the start of the day, you're more likely to be able to get a higher score for patterns versus sparring, because we are more inclined to be awake versus sparring. I'm not saying everyone, but I'm saying you're more likely to be able to get a higher score for that. And we realize it's there. Show off. You know what you're doing versus patterns. Sparring, I meant. You don't know what's coming towards you. You can prepare all you want, but patterns, you know exactly which block is going after what. So it's a lot easier versus sparring to be able to know what's coming next and all. That's really why that's why patterns you can get quite a high score versus sparring, for say. That's why I think people put a lot more effort into their sparring versus knowing that actual patterns can actually get you maybe say a silver medal instead of no medal for sparring, because sparring you don't know what's coming towards you, versus patterns you know exactly what's coming next and all, and it definitely helps you versus sparring, so you can get quite high scores. That's why people neglect, I think, patterns sometimes, thinking that sparring actually will be easier and better, but it's not really. So I think that's what people get neglected on and don't really think about when they are on the floor and all. And as well, the people at the front judging you have a higher grades than you, so they know things that say you might not know that you're doing wrong. It's not anything to take personal. Just learn from the mistakes. Even some of the best athletes have worse days that might not be able to compete great, and it's fine. It's not the end of the world if you don't. Not like some other countries that, will we say, quite pressuring the athletes. Ireland is quite not like that in a way, so Ireland is quite supportive in that way. So that's all for today. That was great. Thank you. Bye.